The Queen's Gambit. White offers the c4 pawn, and the idea has nothing to do with a quick material grab. Instead, White is trying to pull Black's d5 pawn away from the center so that White can build a stronger presence there without much resistance. If Black accepts the pawn, White doesn't rush to win it back. The plan is to develop pieces quickly and use the extra space in the center to create long-term pressure. This is why the opening survived so many centuries of scrutiny. It doesn't rely on tricks or traps. It relies on sound structural ideas that hold up even at the highest levels of play, which is part of why it became the backdrop for countless historic championship games. The King's Gambit. The King's Gambit takes a very different approach, and it comes from a much more aggressive tradition of chess. Here, White pushes f4 early, offering a pawn in exchange for rapid development and a dangerous attack on Black's king. It was enormously popular in the 19th century when players valued fast, sharp attacks over quiet maneuvering. Unlike the Queen's Gambit, which is about space and structure, the King's Gambit is about tempo. White is willing to weaken his own king position if it means opening lines toward Black's king faster than Black can organize a defense. Over time, stronger defensive techniques were discovered, and the opening fell out of favor at the top level. Even so, it remains a favorite for players who enjoy chaotic, attacking positions rather than slow strategic battles. The Evans Gambit. The Evans Gambit appeared in the early 19th century, introduced by a sea captain named William Davies Evans. It arises from the Italian game, and White sacrifices a pawn on b4 to divert Black's bishop and gain time to build a big pawn center. What makes it stand out from other gambits is how it blends tactical sharpness with clear strategic goals. White isn't just hoping for a quick attack. The extra tempo is used to seize the center and open lines toward Black's king in a very calculated way. It was a favorite of some of the strongest attacking players in chess history, including Paul Morphy. And it shows how a single well-timed pawn sacrifice can completely change the character of a game that otherwise looks calm and familiar. The Benko Gambit. The Benko Gambit shifts the focus entirely, since here it's Black who offers the pawn rather than White. Black gives up a pawn on b5 in a King's Indian-style structure, aiming to open the A and B files for the rooks. The point isn't to attack the king directly. It's about long-term pressure on the queen side, where Black's active pieces can make life uncomfortable for White for many moves to come. This gambit became especially popular in the second half of the 20th century, named after Hungarian-American grandmaster Pal Benko, who helped refine and popularize the ideas behind it. The Smith-Morra Gambit. The Smith-Morra Gambit is a response to the Sicilian defense, where White offers a pawn on c3 to open lines and speed up development against a defense that is normally considered very solid for Black. It grew popular largely through club level and correspondence play, championed by players like Pierre Moura, who believed the practical attacking chances outweighed the small material cost. What sets it apart is the contrast between its reputation among casual players and its treatment by professionals. At elite levels, the extra pawn White gives up is often seen as too high a price, since well-prepared opponents can neutralize the attack and keep the extra material. Yet in faster time controls and less rehearsed positions, it remains a sharp weapon that can catch unprepared opponents off guard.